This is the Cross-Centered Books Podcast, where we talk about Christian books and connect readers to authors and authors to readers. Here's your host, author of the best-selling book, Upward Entrepreneur, Matt Irons.
Hello, and thank you for listening. I'm your host, Matt Irons. This is the Cross-Centered Books Podcast, where we talk about Christian books and we connect readers to authors and authors to readers. Are you looking for a new Christian book, but you don't want to spend an arm and a leg? Then visit CrossCenteredBooks.com. Get alerts for discount and free Christian ebooks right in your inbox. Plus, get updates for new episodes of this podcast. Visit CrossCenteredBooks.com. Hello, everyone. I am super excited to bring you our featured guest today, Russell Scalzo. Russell is the author of the best-selling Hidden Thrones series. He has written 6 books that range from fiction to study guides. Russell has also been awarded the 2016 Spirit-Filled Fiction Award of Excellence from Radiqx Press for the Hidden Throne Books 1 and 2. Hi, Russell. Thank you so much for being on the show. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks so much for having me.
Fantastic. So I gave you a very brief introduction, so let's fill in the gaps a little bit and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I started writing probably about 15 years ago now, and currently I'm working on the Hidden Throne series, and I'm just about halfway through book 3 at this time. And along with that, I'm the president of my own production company, Lighthouse Stage Productions, with my daughter, and we do a lot of full-blown Christian musicals, which I write the music to. So I keep busy, but my love is I love just teaching through the Word, teaching through books is a really cool way to do it.
Just some of the information you provided me before the show. You mentioned that you have your own podcast. Is that correct?
Yes, I have my own podcast. It's Chronicles of the End Times, and I've been doing that probably now for, I guess, about 4 years. And it's a weekly, as much as I try to make it a weekly. And, so I pretty much discuss, things that are going on in the news today and how it relates to, biblical prophecy, and just try to encourage people to live for the Lord and, use their time wisely.
You also mentioned before in prior conversation that you were in music, correct? You're a part of a band called the Hallmarks. Is that right?
Yes. When I was in high school, way back when, on my band had a very large audition. There's a lot of different bands, and we were chosen for a national record deal from Mercury Records. And it was debuted with Dick Clark on American Bandstand at the time. And we did some touring, and, we got into a lot of stuff that we shouldn't have gotten into. And the Lord really stepped in and do some mighty miracles. And every member of the band, believe it or not, today is serving the Lord. So that's really crazy how that worked out. But and went from there to, starting my own Christian band, and we traveled all over the U.S. and Canada. We were on 100 Huntley Street, the nationwide Christian show up there. And so, the Lord's really blessed me and allowed me to do many different things. And now I'm more concentrating on writing, and I feel like that's something He has for me.
That actually kind of leads right into my next question here. So take us back and tell us really what inspired you to write, and was there a point in time where God changed your heart and gripped your soul and made you say to yourself, look, I need to get my message out there in the world?
I think it was around 1994. It was around that time that my dad had passed away, and I took care of him, and my mom wasn't doing well, and I was really searching, to go deeper in the Lord. And I was an elder at my church, and the Lord had been using me. I was a worship leader as well, and so I was involved in a lot of things. But my real heart was to teach, and the Lord really got a hold of me and started to lead me in a way that He wanted me to start writing. And you have to kind of understand the miracle in this, because I was an old rock and roll freak when I was in high school, and wasn't really much of a student, unfortunately, and went a completely different way than a lot of my friends. And so what God did for me was pretty amazing. And the Holy Spirit just began to teach me and lead me in the way I should go, and did tons of studying and just burned the midnight oil, writing papers and getting deeper into teaching about Bible prophecy and just basically all the New Testament. And so the Lord just laid it on my heart that he wanted me to write about his coming. So that's how I got started.
And, there's so much confusion with the book of Revelation and his coming. And so that's so awesome that, God has put that on your heart to put it in a way that can be communicated well, that people can understand it. And it's in a narrative. And I think that's really important for people to get a good grasp of the context and just the relevance of what's going to be happening, and put in an easy way to understand. That's really great that you're doing that.
Yeah, I think, it's something that's needed just for the average person. There's folks out there that like to dig in deep, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. But I think, the average person, should know what, the greatness of God and all the good things he's got coming for us,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Russell, tell us how you go about writing your books.
Well, as far as the study guides go, that is probably, from many, many different sources. I find that, reading obviously is such a powerful tool to learn. And so it comes from a lot of, great men have gone before me and know a whole lot more than I do. And I just began to study that and put those things together and really rely a lot on the leading of the Lord as to what to say and what not to say. And as far as the study guides go, it's years of, teaching it. And it kind of like once you know something so well, the Lord is able to really bring it out of you. So, but as far as the fiction books go, I get in a concept with On the Edge of Time, which was my first series, which is doing well on Amazon. That was very biblically based storyline, to the coming of the Lord. But Hidden Thrones, a little bit different. I felt that spiritual warfare was such a major part, or should be such a major part of our lives through prayer, that I wanted to encompass that in this story. And so the Lord led me to that way. So I began to write. And I know a lot of people use outlines, and that's really cool. I'm just not an outline guy. I have, outline is kind of in my head. I guess it comes from creating music and other things. It kind of more of a natural flow. Mm-hmm. So I just start writing, and it just kind of comes out of me. So I think it's just a way that each one, has their own different technique, but that's the one that works for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can definitely see that, especially from a fiction point of view. For me, I typically write nonfiction. So for me, I have to be a little bit linear of understanding, I need to get from point A to point B, but fiction, is just a bunch of ideas, and you need to just get it out of your system and get it down, because you just won't get anywhere unless you just put it down on paper and just have it be a process.
Yeah, you have to just start. It's like anything else, you just have to start doing it.
Absolutely.
And along the way, some days, I'll knock out, 9 or 10 pages, and other days only 3 or 4, depending on, the research that I have to do. I try to make all my fiction books real as possible, as far as biblically, and as far as, geography and all that, just. Mm-hmm. I don't want to just make stuff up as I go along. I kind of want to teach, I think a lot of reviews I've gotten from people appreciate the fact that they feel like they're learning something along the way with the story.
Absolutely. For our readers out there who may not know you and may be looking for something new, what would be like a piece of work that'd be similar to you? So for example, if you like books from blank, then you'll love me?
Well, I can only go by some of the things that have already been compared to by my readers, I guess. Like Dan Brown, I guess, and all his writings, that he's done, I guess, because of the content and the style that I write in. But then from a spiritual standpoint, I think probably, especially Hidden Throne series, probably Frank Peretti's books, This Present Darkness, and it's those books really are an inspiration too. They're talk about spiritual warfare, and those themes are all throughout Hidden Thrones. So those two writers really off the top of my head.
That's great. I think that helps give some context there, and hopefully might pique some interest for some new readers to your book. So that just segues right into my next question, and really tell us about your new book and the Hidden Thrones series. Tell us about those books.
All right. So the Hidden Thrones, book 1, and then there's Spiritual Warfare, which is Open Warfare, rather, which is book 2. And I'm working on Face to Face right now, which will, Lord willing, be released by the end of June. It's a story basically about my main character is Jack Bennett, and he is a believer, and he got involved with spiritual warfare in a sense that the Lord's given him insight into certain things, and he's been there, and he's called upon to pray and to investigate paranormal activity that people don't understand. And through all this, he gets hired by the FBI as a consultant. So they come up with this new division, paranormal division, and they're interested in the supernatural and trying to find out, how they might use it, for their own means. But in the process, he's able to help people, and he kind of makes his Christianity known, but he doesn't openly talk about how he does things because he doesn't want a lot of attention coming to himself. And he teams up with Frank Letterman, who's an FBI agent, and they basically go through this series of events. And Frank gets these missions from the FBI, and they hand them over to Jack Bennett, and Jack handles them in the way that the Lord leads him to handle them. And it's kind of a thriller, political thriller, in the same way as there's the feeling of the darkness trying to take over the United States through different ways, and inspiring this undercover society that I named Sons of Nimrod. And they want to bring back the practices of Babylon, and they want to do away with any reference to God in the United States. And they have their own candidate for president that they're pushing. So it's kind of a lot of intrigue and paranormal activity in the sense that we know of from a Bible perspective.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. So what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I think just wanted to center on people to pray, the importance of prayer and how it can change things, and make people aware that this isn't all there is, that there's a whole lot more going on. And sometimes as human beings, we get a little self-centered, and, we lean on our science, and we lean on this and that and the other thing, and we kind of think this is all there is. But as we know as Christians, there's a whole lot more that's going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, that the Bible tells us about and tries to teach us about. So that was really my desire, is to open people's eyes, and I take some liberties in the book, but just to, make it more visual and to try to draw the reader in to the storyline.
Yeah, we learn a lot by stories, and that's what I love about the Bible, a lot of the Old Testament and everything, just learning about God. They're not stories, of course, they're real events, but they're brought to us in a narrative so that we can understand. And that's exciting about those books there. So as far as like a message